You've been told that authenticity is your greatest strength, that being yourself will unlock the doors to love, success, and fulfillment. You've carried this belief like a sacred flame, protecting it through every rejection, every closed door, every moment when your honest heart was met with indifference or exploitation. But somewhere in the quiet hours between sleep and dawn, when the world stops pretending and you're left alone with the truth, you feel it, that hollow ache that whispers what you've been too afraid to admit. Your authenticity hasn't been your strength. It's been your cage. Every person who has ever surpassed you, every opportunity that slipped through your fingers, every relationship that crumbled despite your honest intentions, they all point to the same devastating reality. The world doesn't reward the authentic, it devours them. You watch as calculated people claim the life you thought your genuineness would earn, and you're beginning to understand that while you've been playing with your heart exposed, they've been playing chess with personalities designed for conquest. They never show their true face. They wear personalities like tailored instruments, each one carefully selected for maximum impact. And while you've been clinging to your authentic self like a drowning person clutches driftwood, they've been building empires with the very thing you've been too noble to embrace: strategic self-presentation. The winning persona isn't born from honesty. It emerges from the courage to engineer your own destiny. Your authenticity has been a luxury you couldn't afford, a moral stance in a world that operates on different principles entirely. You feel the weight of every missed connection, every failed negotiation, every moment when your genuine response created exactly the opposite of what you needed. The truth isn't that you're not worthy of success. It's that worthiness is irrelevant when you refuse to speak the language that success understands. You're beginning to see them clearly now. These masters of adaptation who move through life like shapeshifters. In boardrooms, they become whatever authority demands. In intimate settings, they transform into exactly what vulnerability requires. In social gatherings, they morph into the perfect complement to every personality they encounter. You used to call this fake, but you're starting to understand that what you've been calling authenticity might be the greatest form of laziness, the refusal to grow beyond the accident of your original programming. Every person who has ever outmaneuvered you understood that success doesn't reward the natural, it rewards the strategic. You've been watching them your entire life without recognizing what you were seeing. The colleague who gets promoted despite lesser qualifications, who somehow always says exactly what the boss needs to hear. The friend who never seems to struggle in relationships, who becomes whatever their partner needs them to be without losing themselves in the process. The acquaintance who turns every conversation into an opportunity, who walks away from every interaction having gained something valuable. They're not lucky. They're not naturally gifted. They're not more deserving than you. They simply understood what you've been too proud to accept, that your static personality has been a prison while they've learned to dance between different versions of themselves. Each situation demands something specific for maximum advantage, and while you've been insisting on being the same person in every context, they've been becoming exactly what each moment requires. You feel the uncomfortable recognition spreading through your chest that every missed opportunity can be traced back to your stubborn insistence on being yourself in moments that demanded something else. The job interview where your honesty about weaknesses cost you the position. The romantic encounter where your authentic awkwardness killed the chemistry. The business negotiation where your genuine approach was steamrolled by someone who understood that truth is a tool, not a principle. The winning persona isn't fake, it's tactical, and those who master it inherit the world, while the authentic inherit disappointment. You're standing at the threshold of a revelation that feels like betrayal and liberation simultaneously. Everything you've been taught about being genuine, about the value of staying true to yourself, begins to reveal itself as sophisticated social control, a way to keep the naturally powerful from ever discovering their capacity for strategic transformation. 500 years ago, A man named Niccolò Machiavelli looked at the political landscape of Renaissance Italy and understood something that your authenticity-obsessed culture has forgotten. He saw that effective leaders weren't locked into single natures, but were fluid enough to become whatever their circumstances demanded. The successful prince, he observed, must be both fox and lion, cunning when cunning serves, forceful when force is required, never trapped by the limitations of a fixed personality. Machiavelli wasn't advocating for evil, he was recognizing reality. Those who matter are too busy crafting the exact persona needed to achieve their goals to waste time on the luxury of authenticity. You're beginning to understand why genuineness is something only the powerless can afford. Those with real influence are too occupied with strategic adaptation, the ultimate expression of human intelligence. The prince himself knew that survival and success required the ability to shift between different aspects of human nature, depending on what the situation demanded. When mercy serves your purposes, you become merciful. When firmness is required, you become immovable. When charm opens doors, you become charming. This isn't deception, it's mastery of the full spectrum of human capability. You feel something fundamental shifting in your worldview. The uncomfortable truth settles into your bones. Every moment you've insisted on being natural, you've been volunteering for irrelevance in a world that rewards the calculated and punishes the predictable. Your commitment to authenticity hasn't made you noble, it's made you naive. It hasn't made you trustworthy, it's made you exploitable. Machiavelli understood that the most dangerous mistake a person can make is believing that others will respond to virtue with virtue, to honesty with honesty, to authenticity with appreciation. The world operates on different principles entirely. It responds to what works, not to what's genuine. It rewards those who understand that every interaction is an opportunity to deploy exactly the right version of themselves to achieve their objectives. You're not learning to be dishonest, you're learning to be effective. The difference between manipulation and mastery is that manipulation serves the manipulator at others' expense, while mastery serves your highest purposes in ways that can benefit everyone involved. Strategic self-presentation isn't about lying to the world, it's about refusing to limit yourself to the narrow band of responses that feel most natural. The revelation hits you with the force of long-suppressed truth. Your authentic self isn't your real self, it's your default self, and defaults can be changed. The winning persona emerges from the understanding that you are not condemned to remain whoever you happen to become through accident and circumstance. You can choose who to be, and that choice changes everything. Every successful person you've ever encountered operates like a chameleon, becoming exactly what each situation requires for maximum advantage. You used to see this as dishonesty, but you're beginning to understand it as the highest form of intelligence, the ability to transcend your programming and become whoever serves your purposes most effectively. Your static personality has been a cage while others move through life as shapeshifters. They understand that different contexts require different approaches, different energies, different presentations of self. The version of yourself that works in intimate conversation fails spectacularly in professional negotiations. The persona that succeeds in social settings becomes a liability in moments requiring authority. You feel the weight of recognition. Every failed relationship, every missed opportunity, every moment when the world seemed to reject what you offered can be traced back to your insistence on being the same person, regardless of what each situation actually required. You've been showing up to formal dinners in casual clothes, speaking French to people who only understand Spanish, offering intensity when the moment called for lightness. You're beginning to see that authenticity has been a form of laziness disguised as virtue, the refusal to grow beyond your comfort zone, to develop the full spectrum of human capabilities that lie dormant within you. Every moment you've said, "This is just who I am," has been a moment you chose limitation over expansion, default over design. The uncomfortable truth crystallizes. Those who master strategic self-presentation don't have less integrity than you, they have more options. They can be gentle when gentleness serves, fierce when fierceness is required, vulnerable when vulnerability creates connection, strong when strength inspires confidence. You've been locked into narrow responses while they've been free to become whatever each moment demands for optimal results. You understand now that the winning persona isn't about becoming someone else. It's about becoming everyone you're capable of being, depending on what each situation requires for your ultimate success. The chameleon doesn't lose its essential nature when it changes colors. It expresses its nature more fully by adapting to its environment. And you're starting to realize that adaptation isn't betrayal, it's evolution. You feel the dangerous recognition spreading through your understanding. That influence is indeed an art form, and artists don't paint with their true colors, but with whatever combination creates the desired effect. Your personality isn't your identity, it's your medium. And like any medium, it can be refined, adapted, or completely transformed depending on what masterpiece you're trying to create. The revelation strikes you like lightning. Every person who has ever influenced you understood something you've been too naive to grasp. They didn't persuade you with their authentic selves. They became whatever version of themselves would be most persuasive to you specifically. The teacher who changed your life adapted their teaching style to reach you. The mentor who guided you became whatever you needed them to be in that moment. The friend who helped you through crisis transformed into exactly the kind of support you required. This isn't manipulation, it's mastery. It's the understanding that if you want to help someone, if you want to lead someone, if you want to connect with someone, you must first become someone they can receive help from, be led by, connect with. Your authentic self might not be that person, but your strategic self can be. You're standing at the edge of a revelation that feels like betrayal and liberation simultaneously. Everything you've been taught about the virtue of being yourself begins to reveal itself as sophisticated limitation, a way to keep you small, predictable, manageable. The dangerous truth is that your personality isn't some sacred, unchangeable essence. It's a tool, and tools can be sharpened, adapted, or completely redesigned. You feel the old attachments beginning to loosen. Your attachment to being natural, to being consistent, to being the same person regardless of context. These weren't virtues, they were limitations. The winning persona emerges from the understanding that you are not condemned to remain trapped within the narrow confines of whoever you happen to become by accident. You can become whoever serves your highest purposes, and that power changes everything about how the world responds to you. Every moment you've insisted on being natural. You've been volunteering for irrelevance in a world that rewards the calculated and punishes the predictable. The word natural itself reveals the trap, as if the way you naturally respond is somehow more pure or valuable than the way you could choose to respond. But natural isn't better. It's just unexamined. It's the path of least resistance, rather than the path of maximum effectiveness. You feel something dying inside you, and for a moment, the loss feels profound. But what's dying isn't your soul. It's your attachment to a self-concept that has served others far more than it has served you. Every time you've remained predictably yourself, you've made everyone else's life easier while making your own life smaller. You've been generous with your limitations and stingy with your possibilities. You understand now why successful people often seem somehow larger than life. They're not constrained by the boundaries of a single personality. They can access whatever aspect of human nature serves their current objective. They don't say, "This is just who I am," and then wonder why the world doesn't accommodate their limitations. They ask, "Who do I need to be?" and then become that person. The uncomfortable truth settles into your bones. Your commitment to your natural self has been a commitment to your limitations. Every time you've said, "I'm just not good at that," or "That's not really me," you've been choosing the prison of your defaults over the freedom of your possibilities. The winning persona emerges from the refusal to accept the accident of your original programming as the limit of your potential. You feel the foundations of your old worldview crumbling, but instead of terror, there's something that feels almost like relief. The pressure to remain consistently yourself, that exhausting burden of maintaining a fixed identity across all contexts, begins to lift. You don't have to be the same person in every situation. You can become whoever each moment requires for optimal results. The death of your natural self isn't the death of your core, it's the birth of your capacity to express that core through infinite variations. You remain essentially you while becoming strategically unlimited. The most successful people you know aren't emotionally authentic, they're emotionally strategic. They display exactly the right feelings, at exactly the right intensity to achieve exactly the right outcome. This isn't emotional suppression, it's emotional mastery. They understand that emotions are powerful tools that can be deployed with precision rather than allowed to run wild without purpose. The winning persona doesn't suppress emotions, it orchestrates them like a conductor leading a symphony. Each emotion is played at the right volume, at the right moment, for the right duration to create the desired response in your audience. Anger becomes a tool for commanding respect when respect is needed. Vulnerability becomes a bridge for creating connection when connection serves your purposes. Joy becomes a magnet for attracting opportunities when attraction is your goal. You feel the radical shift in perspective. Your emotions aren't sacred expressions of your inner truth that must be honored regardless of consequences. They're powerful instruments that can be played with skill rather than allowed to create chaos. Strategic emotional intelligence isn't about becoming emotionally fake. It's about becoming emotionally effective. The masters of this art understand that every emotional display creates ripple effects in the people around them. The revelation hits with crystalline clarity. Emotional mastery isn't about suppressing your feelings, it's about becoming the author of your emotional experience rather than its victim. You can choose which emotions to amplify, which to minimize, which to express, and which to process privately. This isn't emotional dishonesty, it's emotional wisdom. The transformation is profound. Instead of being emotionally reactive, you become emotionally responsive. Instead of being at the mercy of whatever you happen to feel, you become the conductor of a carefully orchestrated emotional symphony that creates exactly the impact you intend. What you've been calling being fake is actually the highest form of human sophistication, the ability to transcend your limited default programming and become whoever serves your highest interests in any given moment. The mask doesn't hide your true self. It reveals your unlimited potential to become anyone necessary for optimal outcomes. You feel the paradox settling into your understanding like pieces of a puzzle finally clicking into place. The persona you thought would make you inauthentic actually makes you more authentically yourself than you've ever been. Instead of being trapped within the narrow boundaries of your default personality, you become free to express the full spectrum of your human potential. You're beginning to understand that authenticity itself was the mask, a comfortable limitation that allowed you to avoid the responsibility of becoming everything you're capable of being. Hiding behind being yourself was actually hiding from yourself, from your potential, from the vast range of human capabilities that lie dormant within you waiting to be activated. The revelation strikes with the force of absolute truth. The mask that liberates isn't the false face you show the world, it's the expanded version of yourself that you finally allow the world to see. You're not becoming someone else, you're becoming someone more. You're not abandoning your core, you're finally giving it the full range of expression it deserves. You feel the exhilarating terror of unlimited possibilities spreading through your consciousness. If you can become anyone, then you can achieve anything. If your personality is malleable rather than fixed, then your limitations are choices rather than givens. If you can strategically adapt to any situation, then no door remains permanently closed to you. The mask doesn't hide your true self. It reveals that your true self was always much larger than you allowed yourself to believe. The winning persona isn't foreign to you. It's the fullest expression of who you were always meant to become, once you stopped accepting the accident of your original programming as the limit of your potential. You understand now that the most sophisticated people don't have personalities. They have personalities available to them. Like a master actor who can inhabit any role while remaining essentially themselves, you can become whoever each situation requires while never losing your core essence. This isn't multiple personality disorder, it's multiple personality mastery. Every interaction is a chess match, and while you've been playing with your heart on your sleeve, others have been calculating moves 3 steps ahead with personalities designed for conquest. You're learning that the social world is indeed a game, but it's not the simple game you thought it was. It's infinitely more complex and infinitely more rewarding for those who understand its true rules. The comfortable illusion shatters. Social interaction isn't about being liked for who you naturally are. It's about becoming someone worth engaging with, someone who adds value to every encounter, someone who understands that every conversation is an opportunity to create mutual benefit through strategic presentation. You feel the recognition burning through your consciousness. Every failed interaction can be traced back to your failure to read what the situation actually required. You brought intensity to moments that needed lightness. You offered vulnerability when strength was called for. You displayed knowledge when curiosity would have been more effective. You were authentically yourself when the situation demanded someone else entirely. The masters of social chess understand that every person they encounter has specific needs, desires, fears, and motivations. They don't approach everyone the same way because everyone isn't the same. They become whatever version of themselves will be most valuable, most engaging, most beneficial to the specific person in the specific context they're currently navigating. You're beginning to see that authenticity was actually a form of social laziness, the refusal to put in the effort required to truly connect with people who are different from you. Strategic persona development is actually more respectful of others because it acknowledges that they deserve the version of you that can best serve them rather than whatever version happens to feel most natural to you in the moment. The revelation crystallizes social mastery isn't about making people like you. It's about becoming genuinely likable through strategic adaptation. It's about developing the full range of human capabilities so that you can offer something valuable to anyone you encounter. The winning persona doesn't fake connection. It creates real connection through strategic authenticity. You understand now that professional social operators don't see interactions as chances to be understood. They see them as opportunities to understand, to serve, to create value. They ask not how can I be myself here, but how can I be useful here, and then become whatever useful looks like in that specific context. Even vulnerability becomes a weapon when wielded by someone who understands that every apparent weakness can be strategically deployed for maximum emotional impact. You're discovering that the winning persona doesn't eliminate your humanity, it weaponizes it, showing exactly the right amount of struggle, doubt, or pain to create the desired response in others. This isn't cynical manipulation, it's sophisticated emotional intelligence. You're learning that vulnerability isn't about raw emotional exposure, it's about strategic emotional sharing that creates connection, builds trust, and establishes intimacy in service of mutual benefit. The masters understand that showing weakness randomly is destructive, but showing weakness purposefully is one of the most powerful tools in human interaction. You feel the uncomfortable recognition spreading through your understanding. Every time someone has connected with you deeply, they likely weren't being authentically vulnerable, they were being strategically vulnerable. The calculated vulnerability isn't less real than authentic vulnerability, it's more effective. It serves both parties by creating the emotional environment needed for genuine connection, while maintaining the emotional boundaries necessary for healthy interaction. Random vulnerability is like emotional vomiting, messy, uncomfortable, and ultimately alienating. Strategic vulnerability is like skilled emotional architecture. It builds bridges. You're beginning to understand that mastery in any domain requires the ability to control your responses rather than being controlled by them. Emotional mastery means feeling deeply while expressing purposefully. Vulnerability mastery means sharing strategically while remaining protected. Social mastery means connecting authentically while maintaining your objectives. The revelation strikes with perfect clarity. The winning persona doesn't suppress your pain, your doubts, your struggles. It deploys them with precision. Your weaknesses become strengths when they're shared strategically rather than indiscriminately. Your struggles become bridges when they're revealed purposefully rather than accidentally. You understand now that the most powerful people aren't those who have no weaknesses. They're those who know exactly when and how to reveal their weaknesses for maximum positive impact. They can be vulnerable without becoming victims, authentic without becoming exploitable, real without becoming predictable. This isn't about becoming emotionally calculating. It's about becoming emotionally intelligent enough to share your humanity in ways that serve both yourself and others, rather than in ways that simply discharge your emotional pressure regardless of consequences. Strategic vulnerability isn't fake vulnerability. It's responsible vulnerability that creates connection without creating chaos. You now understand that successful people don't have a personality. They have a portfolio of personalities, each one carefully developed for specific contexts and desired outcomes. Like a master chef who doesn't use the same recipe for every meal, but adapts ingredients and techniques to create exactly the experience each occasion demands, you can develop different aspects of yourself for different situations. The boardroom version of you isn't fake. It's the part of you that understands authority, respects hierarchy, and communicates in the language of results and efficiency. The intimate version isn't a mask. It's the part of you that can be vulnerable, present, and emotionally available. The social version isn't performance. It's the part of you that can be engaging, entertaining, and socially calibrated. The crisis version isn't an act. It's the part of you that can be calm, decisive, and reliable under pressure. You feel the exhilarating terror of unlimited possibility settling into your bones. The revelation hits with the force of absolute liberation. You can become anyone, which means you can achieve anything that requires becoming someone. No door remains permanently closed when you understand that you can develop whatever personality is required to open it. No relationship remains impossible when you can become whoever that relationship needs you to be. Your personality portfolio isn't about being different people. It's about being different aspects of the same person depending on what each situation requires for optimal outcomes, all authentic to your core objectives, while being completely strategic in their deployment. You remain, essentially you, while becoming functionally unlimited. You understand now that the most sophisticated people don't suffer from identity confusion. They experience identity abundance. They don't wonder who they really are, because they know they are whoever they choose to be in service of their highest purposes. They don't feel fake because they understand that all of their presentations are authentic expressions of their unlimited capacity for strategic adaptation. The transformation is complete on a fundamental level. Instead of having a personality that limits your options, you have personalities that expand your possibilities. Instead of being trapped within the boundaries of your default responses, you become free to respond optimally to any situation you encounter. You feel the weight of your old limitations, lifting like a physical burden being removed from your shoulders. The person who insisted on being authentic regardless of consequences is dying, but what's being born in their place is infinitely more powerful. Someone who can be authentic to their purposes rather than authentic to their programming. You are no longer trapped by the accident of your original personality, liberated instead into the infinite space of strategic self-creation. The winning persona isn't who you are, it's who you choose to become in service of who you're meant to be, and that recognition changes everything about how the world responds to you. You understand now that authenticity was never about being real, it was about being limited. It was a comfortable prison that allowed you to avoid the responsibility of developing your full human potential. The winning persona emerges from the courage to become everything you're capable of being rather than remaining trapped within the narrow confines of everything you've always been. The transformation is profound and irreversible. You feel the old attachments dissolving, your attachment to being natural, to being consistent, to being the same person, regardless of what each situation actually demands from you. These weren't virtues, they were limitations disguised as moral positions. They kept you small while feeling noble about your smallness. You're beginning to see that every person who has ever achieved something significant understood what you're finally grasping, that success requires becoming someone worthy of success, not simply hoping that success will find you as you naturally are. The world doesn't owe you success because you're authentic. It doesn't owe you love because you're genuine. It doesn't owe you respect because you're being yourself. The world responds to value, to capability, to strategic presentation of your best possible self in service of mutual benefit. Everything else is just comfortable self-deception. You understand now that the winning persona isn't about deceiving others. It's about refusing to deceive yourself about your unlimited capacity for growth, adaptation, and strategic self-presentation. You're not becoming fake. You're becoming functional. You're not losing yourself. You're finding the fuller version of yourself that was always there waiting to be activated. You are no longer the victim of your personality. You are its author. You are no longer trapped by your defaults. You are liberated into your possibilities. You are no longer authentic to your limitations. You are authentic to your unlimited potential. And that changes everything.